My name is Nancy Fox, and I am explaining my targeted individual story once again, as I have obvious ID theft since the targeted uh, period started about 20 years ago. And I want to explain I worked hard to buy a house that I bought in 2005, and years of happy family time were lost in the house that were planned, as I bought the house for my mother to live with my daughters and I. And I started shopping for it in 2001 when she told me she wanted to live with us and not in elder care. And I shopped for it for 4 years and bought a one-story for my mom to live with us in 2005. And I did the family room dining area furniture with the plans for my daughters, my mom, and I to be there in the family room watching TV, eating dinner. And that's where she was supposed to live the rest of her life. And all the plans my mom had for her old age were ruined, and so were mine. And that's what gang stalkers did to my mom, who passed away about 4.5 years ago. And her old age plans were ruined because of what gang stalkers did. And that's a fact, unfortunately. And now it can't be repaired because she died. And they ruined our lives and hers. And I've said many times she was a targeted individual. And in 2001, I started shopping for a house for my mom to live with us in the house. And after writing offers for 4 years, updating my two-story to sell it to buy another house, I bought the perfect house for my mom to live with us in 2005. And then the stalking began. The mailbox was vandalized twice. My car was broken into, property stolen. Our cats went missing when stalkers were there. And $1,000 worth of my clothes went missing from the house, my true religions. And many other things like this went on. And that's why I keep telling the story, as it was very wrong what they did to us. They ran us out of the house, and it appears they ran us out to do identity theft, as I don't receive mail and money as I should since. And they also cost us about $3.5 million in real estate money and ruined the whole financial plan also. Is I bought the house for my mom to live with us so she would not go to an elder care, which is $8,000 a month, $100,000 a year times 10 years, a million. And so they cost us a lot of money, and that's a fact. And I'd say $3.5 million approximately, in addition to losing 10 years of time with my mother in the house. Is that's where she wanted to live, with her two granddaughters, my daughters, and myself, in our house. And that her plan was totally ruined by what the stalkers did. And so I'm sober in AA since February 9th, 1985. I got a real estate license in 1999, Nancy G. Fox-Taylor. I sold many homes and estates, and I provided well for my daughters as a single mother with my real estate income without child support or alimony for 5.5 years before I bought a house in '05. So I could easily afford it, as I'd been paying the same amount of bills for 5.5 years before then. And I had not been with my ex-husband for 5.5 years. We were legally separated January 2000. That's when he moved out of our two-story house. It was all original, and I updated that two-story with my money to get a good price selling to buy another house. And everything I worked for, planned for, and did, they ruined. And so I keep explaining it, and to show how it affected us. And can't put a price on time with your family. And now it can't be replaced because my mother died, unfortunately, 4.5 years ago, and the plans she had for her old age were not followed. And due to to us being run out of the house, catnapped, me slandered and set up, and everything else that went on, the gang stalkers do to targeted individuals with pranks and thievery and vandalism and lying and everything else. And they ruined all our plans, and it's very unfair. So I want to give the fact story, as I have a million times for 16 years, to have justice prevail. Then I'll add in tips by Jesus Christ, who I channel for 20 years. So Jesus can tell you who did what, when, and add some tips in. And to help to stop all this, as my readings say, they're always doing this to 1,099 moms in the country. And they target mothers who get equity money from their house they made, refinancing or a second loan. And they target people who do that, who get equity lines from banks that are approved. And reading says that's who they target. So they target people to run them out of house and home, set them up, and steal every penny from then on, or the majority of their money, 99.9%. And they always target 1,099 nice moms in the country, in 9 states, readings say. So now I'm doing readings again, but it's hard. I do readings all the time on my facts and what happened, and get a lot of answers and insight to what was done and how to have justice prevail, so they'll quit doing this to people. And that's my goal, to stop gang stalkers from harming targeted individuals, and to stop them from robbing money and mail, UPS, FedEx, PayPal, Cash App, Bevno, with their gang stalker bank robber equipment. And my life was fine. Our lives were fine. My daughter's lives, my life, my mom's life, my cat's life, our cats, was all fine until they started stalking us and vandalizing and lying and stealing. And that's a fact. And they did that to us. And so we moved to the suburbs in 1997. We lived in our 2-story suburb house for 8 years. Everything was fine. Happy, flowed along, perfect, prosperous, sold homes, made money. There were no problems till the stalkers swarmed around us and targeted me, obviously. And so in 2001, I started shopping for a house 1-story, bedroom, bath down, for my mom to live with us. Because she told me, I showed her 3 properties near us, 1-story attached PUDs, to see if she wanted to buy one and live near us. And she said, no, I want to live with you and your kids. And she wanted to live with us instead of going to an elder care. She said if she had to go to an elder care, she wanted to go to one near us. And that one was $8,000 a month. I went and looked at it. And I said, no way is she ever going to live here. She's going to live under our roof. And so my plan was, she was going to move in with us in 2009. I was going to rent her house in Sherman Oaks. She would have made $4,000 a month in rent or more. She would have made $50,000 a year in rent money living at our house. Then her house would have been sold for $1 million. So that's $1.5 million she would have made on her house. And she would have saved $1 million not going to an elder care at $8,000 a month for 10 years. So that's $100,000 a year. So she would have been at our house with $6,000 a month income, made $1.5 million on her house in Sherman Oaks, and saved $1 million and not paid for an elder care. And my house I bought in 2005, I knew it would be worth $2 million, and I knew if I'd sold it, I would have made $1 million on my house. And I plan to sell her house for $1 million, and plan for her to make $500,000 renting it. So they cost us $3.5 million in real estate income. They cost us 10 years of happy family time together that we were supposed to have with my mother, who wanted to live in the house I bought for that reason, be in our family room with us every night, eating dinner, watching TV for 10 years. And that's what they ruined. That you can't put a price on, obviously. And that time is gone. But in addition to the family time, 10 years of time we lost, we should have had together in the house, my 2 daughters, my mother and I, We lost $3.5 million in real estate money because of what they did. And that is very wrong, obviously. And that's not even counting my real estate business they ruined. I would have made $300,000 a year or more, or $250 a year in '09, doubled my business then. As my older daughter turned 18, started driving in '09. That was my 10-year real estate mark where I would have doubled my income. The longer you're a real estate agent, the more money you make. The more you work, the more you make. And I plan to make $300,000 a year starting in '09. So I would have made $300,000 a year for the past 16 years. So they cost me about $7 million in real estate income. I would have made $3.5 million in real estate income between my mother and I. That's over $10 million right there. That's not even counting uh, PayPal. My readings say they steal by hacking. That's mine for 12 and a half years. My medium for God money and cash out of it, Fox Taylor victims mail and cash. Not even counting all that. They cost us $10 million in real estate money, rent money, and real estate income I would have made. And I became a medium and changed my career to that of a medium in '09. If we had been at our house, I probably would have got a real estate partner or got a referral fee and done medium work at night or something and done both careers there. Because I started doing angel board readings at every night in '05 after selling real estate in the day. And I'm a screenplay writer and decided to be a screenplay writer when I was 18. And I bought a house that felt like a screenplay writer's retreat with a spiritual ambiance because I'm a long-time sober AA lady. And I'm a 4-time homeowner who was run out of a home. I am someone who said I'd never rent again. I worked in the movie business 17 years. I was nominated for an Emmy as a costume designer. I was in the Designers Guild. I am sober since February 9th, 1985. I've almost 40 years sober. I am more honest than most people. I've worked very hard in my life, 4-time homeowner who made a good living as a costume designer and a realtor. And I'm obviously a robbed medium. So I'm telling this story time and time again. So hopefully justice will prevail. Because reading says they're targeting a lot of people like me who bought a house and who made equity on the house they sold. And reading says they hate people who make equity on their house and who take equity out that they made. So some people invest in the stock market, then they cash out their stock, make millions, go buy a house. Lots of people, because I was a realtor and I know that. And they get their stock money, they make millions, they go buy $1 million house. Same, you invest your money in stock or real estate, you can invest your money into your house and double your money or quadruple it in your house instead of the stock market. That's how I see it. So you buy a house, like I updated all 4 properties I owned, and they all appreciated mostly, and one didn't because of the earthquake, and I lost some money. But the point is, people buy a house, they update it, flooring, roof, and decorating, tile, whatever they do. Then the value's more, it appraises higher. Then they have earned equity. They have money they made by investing their money into their property. So they see, oh, my house went up 200,000 or whatever. I think I'll get 40,000 equity out that I made. That is called earned equity. So people often get an equity line on their house, and they feel, well, that's money they made from the work they did on the house. That's money they made because they spent money on their house. And that they feel, I invested my money in the house, now it appraised higher, I could take some of my money out I made. That's by money I spent on the house. And they see it like the stock market. And I worked with a lot of sellers when I was a realtor for 10 years. And they do additions, new floors, granite counters, crown molding, and always updates. And then they'd always say, what's my house worth? What do the houses sell for in the neighborhood? They would want to, how much equity do I have? They'd always wonder, how much will I make selling? How much did they make by the money they spent on their house? So people invest in their house. They expect to make money on the money they spent on their house, like putting money in the bank. Like somebody put 20,000 in a CD account, and maybe it'd go up a few thousand. They might put 20,000 in their house and quadruple it to 80,000 and make 60,000 selling it, or say, I'll take some of my equity out I made by the money I spent. And that's what people do. In the United States of America, some people, they decide to invest their money in the house instead of the stock market. Then they refi or get a second equity line or sell and get some of the equity they made. That's called earned equity. And gang stalkers are targeting this type of person. My reading says they hate people who get equity from their house and who spend it or put it in the bank for reserves for bills for a rainy day. My reading says the gang stalker say it makes them sick to their stomach. When the bank approved it, when it's allowed, when they spent their money on the house so it appraised for a higher value, to have more equity, to make more when they sell it, or to pull money out, refine it for college or business loan or whatever. And to them, that's like money in the bank, money in the house. It's like money in the stock market. And people cash out their stock, make millions, and go buy a house with it or whatever they do. It's no different. And if the bank approves it, how could gang stalkers run people out and frame them and rob them blind because they hate they got equity from their house? Reading says that's what they're doing to 1,099 mothers in America, including me. And I've been targeted for 10 years because they hate people who get equity from their house when it's allowed, if the bank approves it. Because you update your house, then it's worth a lot more often. Then the bank will do an appraisal on your house to get you to refi your loan or get you an equity line. So anyway, reading says that's who they target. They hate people who do this. And how can they do that when the bank approves it is beyond me. How can they do this secret deep state cabal conspiracy against people and rob them blind, run them out of their house because they hate people that get equity from their house? When? Maybe they plan to get it. They plan to buy a fixer and update it and have it worth more and refi it and take some money out, plus take the money out they spent, or to make more selling it, or to have it worth more for their kids to inherit. And people invest in their house, I'm saying again, like they invest in the stock market. And I've heard people say that either you invest in the stock market or your property you own in real estate. And everyone's different. And some people love updating their house and painting and adding on and decorating and planting plants themselves and having it worth more by taking care of it, by pride of ownership, they call it in real estate. And the more people do, the more it's worth. They put in crown molding and surround sound and granite and you name it. And pedestal sinks, and they love every minute of it. And the more they spend, the more they update it, the more they decorate, the more it goes up, the more equity they have in the house. And that's called earned equity. And many people refi and take 10,000 out and then have a lower payment by refinancing, and when the rates are low or something, and they keep spending their own money on the house and feel it'll be worth more later when they sell it by the money they spent on it. And they could have put that money in the stock market instead. They could have put it in a CD account and let it sit there and rot. They decide to put it in their house. And no, I'll quadruple my money I spent in my house probably if the market keeps going up. And they know that's an asset. Then they have more assets. And it's worth more. And that's who they target, is why I'm saying it. My reading says they targeted me to rob me blind. My reading says, and here I am doing a reading again, I can't help it. But anyway, well, I was legally separated January 2000, like a divorce. I updated the house myself with my real estate income, a single mother with no child support alimony, paid the bills alone. I updated it, planning to sell it to make more selling it by updating it with my money. In 2004, I said I'm refining the two-story, taking 20 grand out, finishing the updates, carpet paint, tile, selling it, and buying another house. And it was very planned out. I also started working on my FICO score in '04, and I got it up to 790 when I bought a house in '05. So it went very smooth. I got loan approval with Countrywide. I had 400,000 equity in the two-story, and that's because I spent about 75,000 updating it from my money. So you make more. The more you spend on your house, the more you make. And some people want to do nothing, sell it as is. They don't care. They give a credit. Some people want to spend money, the time and energy, go to the trouble of updating to make more selling. It just depends. And I decided to update it to get a good price, to have more money for another house. And I was very planned out for 4 years, as I said. In February '05, I did carpet paint tile to the two-story to get it ready to list and sell with refinance money. I refinanced it in '04 to take money out to do carpet paint tile so I wouldn't use my money in the bank because I'm smart. So as a single mom, paid the bills alone. I like keeping money in the savings, cash for bills, reserves. And so it didn't cost me anything really because I refied and took the 20,000 out to do carpet paint tile to list and sell it. My reading says they decided to target me and lied. A single mom spent too much on her house, made them sick to their stomachs. A single mom did carpet paint tile to the family home. If you could believe that. As most people are happy for families. They get new carpet paint and tile in America. And that's supposed to be a happy time, and they're supposed to think it's great. Marini says they target people who spend money on their property, and they hate them for spending money. And Marini says they think people should leave their house original with Navajo paint and tan carpet the way it came, plain. Have a plain house, plain furniture, and do nothing to it, not spend a penny. So they target single mothers who spend money. They target single mothers who filed for divorce. And my reading says they slandered me and still are and lied. A too thin young mom who was newly divorced spent too much updating the two-story then on a one-story house. No, I was 45, a middle-aged mother. I was not newly divorced. I'd not been with my ex-husband 5.5 years because he moved out January 2000. And I was not too thin. I went on a diet and got back to my regular size 2, 4, or 6. So I was not too thin. I was my normal size. I was not young. I was 45. And I spent the money I planned to spend on my house to sell it and buy another house. And I had 30 grand in the bank for bills when I got the refi money out of the house. Recently, just made up stories, decided to frame me, an overnight mother, to their CPS secret court, and lied. A single mom spent too much, newly divorced, too thin young mom, made up a big imagined story about it, made assumptions, as ASS is, that's where the word assumption is to me, and just made up wild stories, imagined things, and talked about me like I was a single mom waitress or something. When I made $150,000 a year as a single mom realtor, paid the bills alone 5.5 years before I bought a house in '05. Reedy says they plan to run us to a small, cheap rental and rob all our equity in life. They had to get a hold of finances to manage money, and that's what they do to a lot of moms they target when it's They manage their money fine, like I did. And they rob people blind. By framing them in line, they have to get a hold of finances when no, they do not. And they lie they manage money for families. No, they rob money from families. They manage zip. They steal money. Somebody is supposed to hire somebody to manage their money, an accountant, give them a percentage of their money, like 3% or whatever it is, to pay their bills. Then the accountant makes sure no one steals their money. They make sure it's in the right accounts, earning interest. They give their customer bank statements. They don't manage money, they rob money from families they target. And so my reading says they started targeting me when I filed for divorce December '04. And then, and reading says they lied in reports. No way could that newly divorced young mom afford that home or loan, gotta run 'em out. When I'd been paying the bills for 5.5 years. When I paid 5 to 7 thousand a month in bills. The mortgage, horses, ballet, and 1,000 a month to work just to sell real estate. And here I'd been paying the bills 5.5 years with my income, single mom, no child support, alimony. My reading says they lied. Oh, we got to run them out. That single mom can't afford the house because she just filed for divorce. And no, I hadn't been with my ex-husband 5.5 years. And reading says they started targeting me. They searched divorce records to see who filed for divorce and which mothers to target, which families to run out of their family home to a small, cheap apartment. Reading says they even called around to low income rentals and say they want to help a family and rent a place and line it up secretly. And the person sitting there, like I was, 400,000 equity in my house, selling it to buy another house that was bigger. I wouldn't have qualified for a low income loan. Low housing loans, I remember in those days 20 years ago, you, people I knew who did that, I think they had to make 20,000 a year to qualify. I made 150,000 a year. I wouldn't have qualified for a low income rental. Reedy says they do this to high earners. They call around and line up low income rentals when they don't have low income. That's a tip so somebody can see who's calling low apartment rentals for people they plan to rob who would never qualify for a low income rental. And people make more money owning a house. In my opinion, if a family has a house, they'll make more money being in a house than a small rental. Because in a house, you have a yard for kids to play, your pets. You have a washer, dryer, do your laundry at any hour. You can make noise and be productive in the house, making money. In an apartment, you probably have a little storage unit, a parking lot, up and down to laundry at certain hours, and lose work time, and be a small place where it'd be hard for a mom to work with kids in a small apartment and be counterproductive. So that's my opinion. People own a house, they can make more money. It's easier. It's easier to own a house. When you have a yard or a big patio, you have a garage, and everything else. Uh, anyway, and they lie, they help people running them to low income rentals they wouldn't even qualify for. Like me, I was sitting in my house, 2-story house, my kids and I happy, and I had 400,000 equity. And they wanted to rob my $500,000 almost and run us to a low-income rental I wouldn't have qualified for to ruin our lives. And lie, they help people doing that. No, they are not helping. They'd be all people would need if they're a single mom who just got divorced, who was worried about money. They would just need a financial meeting. They just Google to get a debt consolidation place. And then they just say, okay, if I refi, what could my payment be? Or could they rent a room, make 1,000 a month, pay half their mortgage? Could they rent their garage, as a storage unit on Craigslist, and people, could they sell eBay from their garage or something like that? And people, they make more money staying in a house. That's from what I've experienced. You are more productive in a house. So that's well, it's ridiculous to me. Um, anyway, it is a no-brainer. A family is better staying in their family home than being run to a little cheap small apartment. And that's a fact. So, and Rainey says that's what they're doing to everybody in America. When they're helping, would be helping them to stay in their house, referring them business. Okay? Again, they could rent a room. They might rent 2 rooms, pay their whole mortgage. And again, they could be selling eBay from the garage, renting the garage for $500 a month or whatever on Craigslist until things got turned around. They could take an equity line out. Hey, live on it. They might take an $80,000 second out equity. Hey, we'll use this a couple years till we're turned around, and whatever it is, you make it work. You just have a financial meeting. You just have a meeting yourself. I have done it many times in my life. Makes me furious that my readings say these gang stalkers lie they help people by running out of their house. No, they do not. And if if maybe there is a new single mom, just divorced, whatever it is, wants to keep the house, they sit down and write a list and figure it out. And they could sell their car and have no car payment and get a car all cash with an equity line from the house, wipe the bill out of a car payment. They might save $500 a month. They could refinance their car to a lower interest rate. They can divide their water and power bill into 3. Okay? There are many ways to cut corners to make your budget work. And I have done it for myself in my life many times. And you make it work and you get by till you turn things around. You don't get run out of your effing house that you've got enough equity in to go buy a condo all cash and have no mortgage at all. So helping is keeping people in their house, not running them out. And I was a realtor, as I said. I ran 1 million buyer net sheets for my buyers to show them their payment. And I would show them, here's your payment, 40-year loan, this kind of thing. A 40-year loan, it's less. And people do interest-only loans. NAGAM loans don't go up for 5 or 7 years. And you just do what you have to do till you get turned around. And the important thing is to stay in your house, because that's where you'll thrive. That's where families are happy. That's where a parent will make more money, be more productive, be able to work freely. And that's where kids could do homework and so on. And where pets can be in the yard. If you're in an apartment, you're suddenly dog walking. You're suddenly lugging laundry to the laundry room. You might have to bring your kids with you and whole rigmarole, certain hours, lose time at work, and cars in the parking lot, and rained on, and little storage unit, and you can't find things you need, and big effing mess. If somebody's run from a house to a little apartment, is a nightmare. That is not helping at all. Helping is keeping people in their home. And I'm off on a whole other subject, but this is what my reading says. They are targeting mothers who file for divorce, single mothers, and unwed moms. That's who they target by searching records. And they tell people they want to help the poor mother, run her to a little small apartment. No way she could afford the house. And they don't even know what she has in the bank, or what she makes, or what her bills are. And that's how they're running everyone out of house and home in America. Then they rob them blind. And my reading says, and that with me, they targeted me because I bought a house for $1 million I qualified for. And I had about 90,000 in reserves in the bank, or 50,000, and made the money I could afford the house. Marie says they lied, they had to run us out. Oh, it cost too much for a single mom. Oh, we're gonna help by running them out. I planned to stay there, make 300,000 a year. That did not help running us out of the house. That ruined our lives. And that's who they target. They don't even ask the parent or the homeowner, oh, what is your income? What are your bills? Or they don't even ask a question. They just do it all secretly. Manipulate, coerce it, and my two-story I sold in '05, I made enough cash. I could have bought a 3-bedroom condo all cash and had no mortgage payment. Okay? As a realtor, this is what I did for buyers and sellers. I would sit down with them and say, this is what you'll make selling approximately. This is what your payment will be approximately on these prices. And then people decide, what do they want to do? They want to sell and buy a condo all cash with their equity. They want to stay in their house, get an equity line, fix the house up and sell it later for more money. And people sit down and decide. Well, gang stalkers decide just to run people out. They don't tell the homeowner one thing. They don't ask them one question about what their plans are for their house or their life. They just run around and sneak and lie and manipulate, make up stories, and that's what they did to us. And I experienced it, unfortunately. And the point is, I own 4 properties, and I did debt consolidation several times in my life. Things get turned around. Things are temporary. If someone just gets divorced, suddenly they're living on their own income. What do? They want to stay in their house. They rent a room. They rent their garage. They get a side job. They refi to a 40-year loan. They sell their car, buy one all cash with equity line from their house. They find a way to work it out and make it work. And no, things will get turned around. It's temporary. Because that's usually how it is. And you just find a way. And like I said, I have done it. I sold a car to qualify to buy a house for the mortgage. I refied a car once to a lower rate to have a lower payment. I have done these things, and they are temporary. You get a loan, like an equity loan, or refi your car. Eventually, the loan is paid off. It is secured by your house or car. And that's helping families. Helping families is for them to have a financial meeting, to call a debt consolidation place, and to find a way to work these things out, to stay in their house. Running people out and robbing them blind obviously is not helping at all, is it? No. And that's what they're doing to 1,099 targeted mothers in America. Always 1,099 on the list, or 1,099 in California, times 10 states in America. 10,999 it could be. And that is wrong. It is totally wrong. It is totally backwards. It is not helping to run people out of their house and to rob their money. And so that's what my readings say they do. They do fraud reports secretly and lie. Oh, the poor young mom, newly divorced, no way could afford that house. Gotta run him out to help him out to a cheap rental. No. And in my case, as I said, I paid $7,000 a month in bills alone. I made $150,000 a year selling homes. I had $400,000 equity in my house I was sitting on, and obviously could afford the house. because I'd paid the bills alone for 5.5 years. And I could afford the house I bought in '05 because my bills were the same as a two-story house. And that they ran us out, and my reading says they did fraud secret reports and ran us out on purpose from the one story and planned it all out secretly and planned to run us out of the two-story, readings say, to a little cheap rental while I was sitting shopping for a bigger house that was more money to upgrade. I was not downsizing, I was upsizing. I was buying a house for my mom to live with us, to have more square footage, not less. I was not in the downsizing mode. That's what people do when they're old and gray and retiring and sell the family home to get a little condo all cash. That's downsizing. I was upsizing to a bigger house, to have more square footage for my mother. And so I bought a house in '05 for my mom to live with us, around 2,500 square feet. Same area as a two-story, same county, same city, same school district. 2 miles from the two-story, easy transition for my daughters. Great location, location, location. Went perfectly, qualified for the mortgage with Countrywide. $27.50 a month payment, same amount of bills as the two-story, and I could easily afford it. And I had the cash down from the two-story and my income, and it went fine. And I don't charge. I use cash, so I always had cash in the bank for reserves for bills. I'd transfer my checking to pay bills. And so I just had a monthly nut, because I don't charge. I just had mortgage, car payment, utilities, food, basic bills, probably 5,000 nut. Plus my daughter's activities, horses, ballet, 1,000 I spent as a realtor just to work. I spent 1,000. Dry cleaning, car wash, gasoline, flyers, so on, real estate dues, and so, but the household nut was 5,000. Then I spent 1,000 or 1,500 on my daughters, 1,000 to work as a realtor. Okay, so I made, let's see, I made about 5 times the mortgage, 3 times the mortgage, made 13,000 a month, and well, anyway. I made, the mortgage was $27.50. I made over 4 times the amount of the mortgage. Okay, people apply for an apartment, they want them to make 2.5 times the rent amount. I made 4 times the mortgage amount. Wasn't going up for 5 or 7 years, I was told. It was not going up. I planned to refi before it went up. And it was all planned perfectly. And anyway, I knew the house I bought would be worth $2 million by adding on and updating it. So I knew someday if I sold it, I'd make $1 million on the house. I also needed the tax write-off, the interest. Being a realtor, I used to run sheets, real cost of home ownership per year. I'd show people who rented, I'd say, look, your payment will be the same being a homeowner, be the same as your rent. Then you can write off your mortgage interest. And I'd show them on the cost of homeownership per year sheet, as I printed a lot of sheets. Buyer net sheets to show buyers their payment, seller net sheets to show what they'd make selling, and I'd run every interest rate, 20-year loan, 30-year, 40-year loan, and you name it. And that's the thing. So if somebody's divorced, they can call a nice, honest mortgage broker or realtor. Realtors will help people for free. I did often. People call me when they're getting divorced and say, what could they sell their house for? What would they make? And they'll call a mortgage broker. How could I refi? What will my payment be? And you just find a way with numbers, with calculators, and you just figure out, what could I do to make a little side cash? Or could I rent a room 1,000 a month? Or could I refi to a 40-year loan and pull an equity line out to get through this time if someone got divorced? Till you're turned around. You find a way to make it work. Running someone out of their family home would obviously work against them. Then they wouldn't have everything all in its place: file cabinets, fax machine, garage for your Christmas decorations, and laundry room, and everything else to have life easy, to be productive and make money. And anyway, sure, and people be the same way in a big apartment or a townhome and so on. Yes, they can be. But the point is, if a family splits up, last thing you want to do is run the poor mom and kids out. It's hard enough the kids suddenly don't have their dad. It's best for the children's sake to stay in the family home a while till they adjust to their dad not being there. So why should children have to suffer and get run to a little apartment because gang stalkers don't like moms that get equity lines or refi or spend money on their house to make money or file for divorce? Okay, the children shouldn't have to suffer, and that's a fact. And they should stay in their house where they're thriving, and at least for a while to adjust. And I plan to stay in our house a while. When I split up with my ex January 2000, very long time ago, I thought I want to live here a while and then move later, so my daughters adjust to their dad not living there, and then do a transition later. And I moved. Our house was 2 miles away from the two-story, same city, county, school district, same area. So that was an easy transition. And of course, it was a good move. It was a move up. They loved the house I bought. They were very happy about it. So you have to think of the children's sakes. Obviously, they'd be better staying in their house than being run to a little small cheap apartment. And that's what they do to targeted individuals. And they're targeting a lot of mothers in America who they hate for filing for divorce. They hate them because they're unwed. They hate them because they refinance and get equity out and spend equity or put equity in the bank. They hate them for getting equity lines. They hate them for spending money updating the house and buying furniture. Hard to believe, because mothers like to do that, to make their house a home, to nest. And you would think that'd be seen as positive. A mom who decorates, hangs curtains, paints the walls, buys flowers at a nursery, furniture to sit on in the family room, and being motherly. And they hate these moms who spend money to make the house a home and target them to run them out because they made the house nice for their family. Makes no sense at all. But reading says that's what the gang stalkers do to targeted individuals. And my reading says when we moved in our house around July 1st, 05, they tried to stop us from moving in. They go by the moving truck date. Well, I owned it the middle of June 05, 2 weeks before we moved in. I had it updated before we moved in with my two-story equity. So I got a swing loan on the two-story to buy the one-story and to update it. And my reader says they hated me for buying $1 million house, for updating it and buying furniture. So they wanted to run us out, because they don't think single moms should do that. Even though I made the same amount of money as a single dad realtor could have done that. People would have thought nothing of it. And so the mailbox was vandalized twice, house broken into, $1,000 clothes stolen, 4 pairs of True Religions, $200 each. Cats went missing Labor Day '08. Stalker stalked. And Jesus, God, they say that 9 men stole our 2 cats. Labor Day '08. The gang stalker men. And that women, kids, stole 4 pairs of my True Religions from the house, 200 each. And the kids stole my mail money out of the mailbox on a post and smashed it on the ground twice so I wouldn't get my jobs and money out of the mailbox. Car break-in was Real estate women, readings say, they stole my real estate listing portfolio to rob my real estate business out from under me. They stole $500 in property. My mom's diamond rings went missing from her house in Sherman Oaks in '07, Thanksgiving. Her will went missing spring '09 when I was slandered and set up to DCFS. Then I have ID theft. I don't get mail and money as I should since I was set up. 16 years ago, almost 17 years ago. 16 and a half years ago. Hard to believe. It is obvious to me they plan to run us out and rob me blind. Why did they stalk the street, the mailbox, smash it on the ground twice, break in my car, rob property, break in the house, and steal my clothes, steal my mom's rings and her will and our 2 cats Labor Day '08? Why would they run around like wild banshees, vandalizing and being predators, abusing us by stealing and by lying about me and overnight mother? And that's what they did. In spring '09, they framed me to DCFS, and the lies were dismissed without prejudice in court in '09. Case was closed July 10th, 2010. I don't receive mail money as I should since. My reading says they sit around in new cars and rob my PayPal and hack the link and steal it outright since I opened it April 2013. My reading says they steal my mail and money out of it and loot my UPS FedExes from trucks with fraud papers, lies that were dismissed without prejudice in '09. Case closed July 2010. And case closed, case dismissed, no monitor. That's what it said. And that was 15 years ago, over 15 years ago. 2010, July. Okay? No monitor, which I would never need. I hate hitting and spanking. I'm the nicest, calmest, patient person on earth. I'm sober in AA since 1985. I'm an Al-Anon lady. And that was a joke to me. Is that I was lied about. Case file was opened based on lies. The lies were dismissed. Case closed, case dismissed. Okay? So how could they rob me for 15 years with dismissed lies is beyond me. My reading says that's what they're doing. And my readings by God and Jesus say they planned it out. They planned it out when I filed for divorce, December '04, after legal separation for 5 years. And the divorce was just filing the legal separation papers. They were already filed in the court, January 2000. The divorce was the legal separation papers. It was just making it final, is all. My reading says they saw I filed and decided to target me and did fraud reports and lied. Oh, she's a very bad person to file for divorce. New single mom, and no way she could afford that house by herself. Got to run him out to help him out and this and that. When I had already paid the bills 5 years before I filed for divorce. I was already legally separated 5 years. And the reading says they made up a big story and planned to run us out and target me and rob me blind. And then they did again February '05. I had a long-time sober AA party at the 2-story house. My reading says they ran around saying, oh, newly divorced single mom spent too much on carpet paint tile for a single mother. We got to set her up because she won't be able to provide with food and clothing. She's spending too much money. When I sat there with 30 grand in the bank for bills and did the carpet paint tile with refi equity money. And always provided very well for my daughters. Paid for horses, ballet, theater arts camp, and well, that's the sad story. I'm telling again and again, as my reading says, they are robbing me blind, and they are robbing my money, bank wires, PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, UPS, FedEx, money by looting trucks, postal money and cash. It's mine. And that they lie. Oh, we had to get a hold of finances because she spent too much on a house in '05. We had to run them out, get get a hold of her finances because she did that so quick without thinking. So we got to take all her funds and manage them. And no, I did not do it quick at all. I shopped for the house for 4 years. I updated the two-story for 5 years to sell it and buy another house. I qualified for the house I bought. I planned it out. I had equity from the two-story I bought it with and real estate income. I got loan approval with Countrywide. I had the same amount of bills as the two-story I'd paid 5.5 years before then. I planned to update the house I bought with my money. I planned to buy furniture and spend $3,000 so my family and I could sit in the family room and watch TV. My two daughters and my mother and our cats happily purring. My mother never got to live there because they ran us out. I am the biggest planner on earth, and I planned it out very well. I started working on my FICO score in '04, got it up to 790 by the time I bought a house in May '05. I had the income and qualified with Countrywide. I had a $27.50 a month payment and could easily afford the house. It all went perfectly. I plan to never move. And my reading says they robbed me for 20 years and lie to banks and post offices and lie. I had to get a hold of finances because she bought a house cost too much without thinking. When no, it was all thought out and very planned by me, the buyer, who had the money and who was a professional real estate lady buying their own property for their family, and it went perfectly. And my reading says they made up a big liar story and robbed my money for 20 years with a liar story. When? How could that be? And and like I said, we lost 10 years of happy family time we should have had there with my mother. And my daughters and I lived there from '05 to '09. And my mom was going to move in '09. And we would have enjoyed the house and the family room watching TV, eating dinner for 10 years. And that's what they cost us. 10 years of time we would have had as a family there. That was the whole purpose of the house. It was for my two daughters, my mom and I, to be in the family room, eating dinner, watching TV together every night as a family, so she wouldn't be at an elder care. So they also cost us, as I said, about $3.5 million in real estate money. I lost $1 million on the house I would have made. And my mom, she was going to be at our house getting rent money from her house. So she would have made $50,000 a year in rent money, $500,000 in 10 years in rent money, and $1 million on her house, $1.5 million, and not spend $1 million on an elder care where she didn't want to be. And they coerced the whole thing, and anyway, that's what gang stalkers do to targeted individuals. So we lost about $3.5 million real estate and rent money. I lost $7 million on my real estate business, plus 16 years of Medium for God mail-in money, and 12.5 years of PayPal. My reading says they've robbed by hacking. 16 years of Fox Taylor victims money, ad infinitum. That is so much money. It's well, I'm sure hard to comprehend. I'm sure hard for banks to understand that my money is robbed. And anyway, my reading says I've made so much with my Medium for God business I own alone as an individual that banks couldn't comprehend the money was for one person's work. For me, a real medium, because I'm a medium for God, Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary, John Lennon, the passed on presidents, Lincoln, Kennedy, Washington, Eisenhower, Truman, famous actors. I'm a medium for famous actors and musicians, presidents, and the biblical beings. I write and speak for them. I'm a medium channeler. I'm a prophet. And that's worth a lot. That is priceless. Okay? That is worth a lot of money that I can sit and write 10 pages by God and Jesus Christ and by John Lennon and whoever anybody wants me to write for, who's famous, who died. Liam Payne, Bob Saget, and whenever Hulk Hogan, Gary Coleman, when a famous person dies, I become their medium. I write and speak for them. Kobe Bryant, and I do videos channeling famous people who died. I write for famous people who died. I have a Medium for God internet business I'm the individual owner of, and I do all the work alone as a real medium. That is my job. That is my profession. I'm a medium channeler. My reading says they are robbing every penny that is sent for my medium work. By hacking, by looting, by lifting, and they planned it out. And they planned it out when I bought a house. They planned it out when I filed for divorce. After being legally separated like a divorce for 5 years, they planned it out when I had an AA party at our 2-story house, did carpet paint tile. Because that's who they target. Mothers who filed for divorce. Mothers who are unwed. Mothers who spend money on the family home. Mothers who refinance and get second loans and spend equity. That is who they are targeting. Those are the families they are running out of houses. And they are doing this to a lot of people right now, and it is very wrong to do that to families, obviously, and to plot and plan to run a family sitting in a house with $500,000 equity that they could live on forever if they stayed in the house, and they plot to run them out to a cheap rental and rob all their money and lie there managing finances secretly. Okay? That is wrong. That is very wrong, and they are doing this to a lot of people. And they lie there helping. They are not helping. They are working against people. They are ruining lives. They are catnapping. They are vandalizing. They are lifting. They are hacking. They are doing postal crimes. And that's what they are doing to families, the gang stalkers. And that is not helping. And that is their trick, their game. They lie there helping when they're harming. And they lie in reports that a house cost too much. My reading says that's a lie they tell about me. No, it did not cost too much. I qualified for the mortgage at a $27.50 a month payment. I made 4 times the income of the payment. I had the same amount of bills I'd paid for years at the 2-story. I could easily afford the property. I don't charge. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. I don't gamble. I don't play sports. I don't go on vacation. Okay, I don't spend the extra $2,000 other people spend. I just spend from my monthly nut. Mortgage, car payment, food, my daughter's activities, and just the basics. I did not spend extra money like other people. I don't have credit card bills. I did not have any then. I kept cash in the bank as reserves for bills so I could transfer it to my checking and pay bills as a responsible parent and homeowner. And I managed my money very well. I'm the biggest thinker and planner on earth, and that is a fact. And they targeted me to run us out, ruin our lives, and rob me blind, and did. And that's very wrong what they did to our lives. And it's very wrong they're still robbing our money. Readings say that they say they take almost everything from then on after the setup date and plan it all out. And that is very wrong. And that's who they target. And I pray they're caught. And I'm doing this again and again. for justice to prevail, because my reading says they are still telling their same liar story. And my reading says they are lying. That house would have cost her mom an arm and a leg that would have put her poor mom in the hole. And things like this. Well, no, I bought the house for my mom. So she would have lived with us under our roof and not in elder care. So she would be happy with her family. That was the whole purpose of the house. It was for my mother. And their line it would have put her in the hole. No, she spent $1 million at an elder care where she didn't want to be and didn't ever plan to be. She lost $1.5 million on her property. Would have sold for $1 million. It was undersold some way, and she lost $500,000 rent money she would have made living at our house. So no, she would have benefited by the house I bought. And that's why I bought it. Was for her to live there, to be happy with us. And Reedy says they're lying. Would have put her mom in the hole because of the Wachovia. Their line is a family trust fund money or something. No, that was a loan for $120,000, $120 a month payment that didn't affect my mother at all. That was not cash of my mother's. That was a loan she got that she offered to get for me during a slow real estate market in fall '05. That was so she would not use any cash. And that would have been paid off before she passed away. It wouldn't have ever affected her. Marie says they lied. That Wachovia loan would have put her in the hole. No, didn't affect my mom at all. That was a loan, like a college loan. You make a payment and pay it off. And Reedy says they do things like this and lie about things that are not true at all. It's $120 a month payment for a Wachovia loan is nothing. How would that have put my mom in the hole? I made the payment, $120 a month. Didn't affect her one bit. And Marie says they tell lies about this and say that's why they ran him out. She would have put her mom in the hole getting that Wachovia money and things like this. Now, my mom offered to get a Wachovia loan, fall '07, $120 a month, and the loan was secured against my inheritance from her house in Sherman Oaks. So it would have not affected one soul at all. And that's a fact. And I wouldn't have never had to ask her. Well, I didn't even ask her for the loan. It was her idea. But I told her the real estate market was slowing, and she said, oh, I can get you a loan. And she did. And anyway, my reason is the gang stalkers robbed $200,000 from me. Point is, she would have never needed to get me a loan if they weren't robbing my money. Because my reading says they robbed some of my two-story equity money in '05. They stole my second loan refi money in '06. They stole my real estate income. And little at a time, $200,000 from '05 to '09. My readings say they were siphoning my money out of the bank, skimming off the top, and taking big chunks of money when I was busy. And my reading says they did that to run us out of the house. They also did it to frame me to look like the house was too much when it wasn't. And that's how they frame people. They rob their income they make from their bank accounts to make it look like they can't afford their house when they can. And that's a game. They do secretly somehow. And my reading says that's what they did to me. And here I am, made equity on my second, put in the bank for reserves, refied my second, put in the bank for reserves for bills, Worked my tail off selling homes, putting money in both my savings to have money for bills. And here I am working so hard, putting money in my savings, and they kept taking it out to run us out. Well, I'm working hard, putting it in the bank, putting it in the bank to have money for bills, and they kept stealing it, readings say. And my reading says, they say they did that to run us out of the house. So it's their fault, isn't it? Entirely, yes. My mom would have never had to offer to get me a loan from Wachovia in Fall '07 if gang stalkers weren't robbing my money. And my reading says in '09, they said that they had it all planned out to yank my money out at setup time. When they lied about me to DCFS, they yanked my money out of the bank and planned it out to yank it out. So the word they use is yank. Because they're the fucking, excuse my language, but they're the devil. To do that to families and people, and their pets, and their home they love, and their career and business, and their reserves in the bank they have for bills to pay their monthly household bills for their family. How dare they do that? Sit there and plot to run families out, to steal their cats and throw them in pillowcases by 9 men, to sit robbing their money they made working hard, like I did as a realtor, to sit robbing the equity they made on their house, that they made by the money they spent on their house. And they just keep yanking it out to run them out of their house. While they sit lying in line, that house cost too much. And they lie, oh, she bought that without thinking, it cost too much. No, it was all thought out, and I was approved for the house. And it would have been fine if they hadn't run us out, if they hadn't robbed my money from the banks, 200,000 from '05 to '09. And my reading says they stole my real estate phone book, copied it, lied to the whole thing. My real estate listing portfolio was stolen by the car break-in. And that's a fact. 2 cats, mailbox smashed twice. Okay, just all of that is a lot to work against a single mom. Just all that negative energy and running around looking for cats, running around to buy things to fix the mailbox and replace everything they stole from the car. And that's what they do. They work against you, work against you, work against you, steal your pets, break your mailbox, stalk it, scare you, rob your clothes, break in your car, rob what you need for work, rob your money from the bank, rob your jobs from the mailbox. They just rip people off. That is what gang stalkers do to targeted individuals, because they are the devil, and they need to be caught for doing this, because they are doing this, as I said, 1,099 women and their kids in California times 10 states. My readings say. And they just sit 90 women around in new cars, hacker squad vehicles, robbing everybody's PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, looting UPS, FedEx trucks, robbing everybody's money. That's what they are. And Reedy says they run around and lie. They're covering all these bums. No, they are the bums living on the targeted individuals' money they stole. The targeted individuals are robbed victims. The gang stalkers are the bums who are too lazy to make their own money. They just sit around and stealing the targeted individuals' money. They steal bundles of mail from post offices and the money the targeted individuals made. They steal their PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, Western Union, GoFundMe money by hacking. They steal their jobs from the mail. They steal their UPS, FedExes. They get new cars with stolen money. They get houses and apartments with stolen money. They spend the targeted individuals' gift cards at malls they stole from the mail. They are the lazy bums who would be barefoot homeless, starving in the street. They are living off the targeted individuals' money they robbed. So they are the lazy bums, too lazy to make their own money, who just sit around stealing money from the hardworking, targeted individuals, the entrepreneur hard workers they target to rob them blind. And they just sit there having FedEx UPS trucks pull up at their house to loot them because they are greedy pigs who just sit stealing money and gifts that are for the targeted individual's work. And they sit there, the lazy bums, slandering all the TIs they are robbing, my reading says, and they sit around saying they're managing finances because they spent too much. They bought furniture too fast and da, da, da. They plan to buy furniture. They plan to buy a house and update it. They budgeted for it. They calculated it. They measured for what they need. They made a list because they target productive, ambitious people who do 10 things at once, who think more than anybody, who plan everything, who think ahead. And the gang stalkers do not. They have short-sighted vision. They are narrow-minded, judgmental, stingy, and they are the cruelest inhumans on earth to do what they do to people. And they should be kept away from everybody, obviously. And my reading says they sit around doing fraud reports on all the people they are robbing, banks and post offices. They don't know that's all the targeted individuals' money for their work. They don't know the gang stalkers tromping in, picking up bundles of mail, or the lazy bums living on it, do they? They don't know they're living on all the money they stole out of the mail they get in bundles. They don't know they're wearing stolen clothes they looted and stolen jewelry and shoes and carrying stolen purses, do they? They don't know they're getting stolen PayPal sent to their PayPal account or aimed to them. That's not theirs. No, nothing's theirs. They're the bums who just run around robbing money. And so that's why I'm reporting this a million times over. Is my life was wonderful. I was prosperous in the movie industry as a costume supervisor, costume designer for 17 years. I was prosperous as a realtor for 10 years. As a medium, I am robbed blind. 16 years of my money's robbed in the San Fernando Valley by gang stalkers. My readings say every day, 90 sit around in hacker vehicles robbing my PayPal Cash FF now all night and day. They've been robbing my mail 20 years, my money out of it, my UPS FedExes. They have them pull up at 50 addresses, my reading says, and loot the trucks. The greedy pigs. Still, thank you, Prophet Tiffany gifts, Son of God resume presents, and Medium for God speaker clothes, Westfield shopping mall cards, Medium for God restaurant thank you gift cards. They just sit around gobbling up food with stolen gift cards and run around lying about targeted individuals. And God and Jesus have explained, John Lennon, Lion Pain, all my spirit guides. They're doing this to 1,099 in North Carolina. And they are doing this in Hayesville, Asheville, North Carolina.